And for those of you, I know some of you had asked about what we're doing in terms of recognition. So we will be doing the certificates, the jackets. The only thing we're unsure of at this time is the, obviously the awards and recognition ceremony is not happening on May 3rd. So we're looking at some other options. We talked yesterday with SGA. Diego was there, and we're seeing if we can do something virtually. But you will absolutely still get recognized. You can simply email in your reflective essay, and I will send out a little blurb. It's just 500, 1,500 word max about one of the sessions that you attended. So more to come on that, but I will turn it fully over to Joe at this time.
Fantastic. Well, thank you, Jean, for doing this, and for everyone for showing up. I know it's tough. I know the days seem really long. We are grateful that you're here. Welcome to Being Broke Sucks. If you haven't figured this out by now, we have moved from on stage to online. That's where we are, and that's what we're going to be doing for the foreseeable future. So we want to serve and support you as best as we possibly can. This Zoom event will be recorded, just so you know that we can continue to distribute this for any students who haven't had the chance to see it, but also for you, so that you can see it again and again and again and again. You're gonna love it. Not that much. So this is Being Broke Sucks. My name is Joe with Collegiate Empowerment. So this is a Collegiate Empowerment production, and that's some of the team. You've met some of them. Actually, you saw Jason and Alex on the on this side over here. You met them last week if you were with them. Facilitating one session, and you'll see them next week for the next session. We make sure that everything we're doing is high energy. We got some games and participation. So again, that's why we want to see your faces, participate a little bit, have some fun. But again, it comes down to real impact, right? This is about financial education. So if you hate lectures, you're going to love this experience. Let's make it conversational. Let's make it fun. Stay on video, but if you got any background noise, please turn off your microphone until we open up for conversations for Being Broke. So there are three things that you can do right now. There are three things that anyone can do right now as it relates to their money. Businesses are doing this, small organizations, nonprofits are doing this, and individuals are doing this. So the first option, you can beg. You can 100% go out and beg for money right now. You can do that, and the entitled do. People who feel entitled that someone owes them money. I know there's airlines who are saying the government owes us money. They're begging for money, right? It's not a really good mindset to have. The second mindset that you can have is you can borrow. So if you feel like you're intelligent enough and you're going to borrow in the right way, and you're not going to put yourself in debt over debt over debt, you can do that. So the enabled, they tend to borrow. The entitled tend to beg. At the other end of this, I want you to be able to build. So the empowered mindset is about building a new capability, a new skill, a new opportunity. People are building new businesses. Some of the biggest and best businesses formed during the Great Depression or the recession. So we have to put on a different mindset and really start to build. We build upon opportunity. We look at this crap as manure, as fertilizer, for how we're going to grow and become better, become stronger. Right, so there is me, that's my family, that's my wife, my two kids, Alec, who can never keep his eyes open during pictures, and my daughter, Ella. And the first week that the pandemic really hit the United States, and we started saying, look, we got to shut down schools, we got to shut down everything. If we're really going to stay safe, we got to limit and kind of physical distance. I know they say social distance. Right now, we are not socially distanced. We are physically distanced, socially connected. So that's the language I've been using. But I sat down with my wife for 3 hours, and we have a regular monthly meetings just to talk and plan, to focus on our vision and goals and all the things that are important to us. But instead of doing that, we spent 2.5 hours talking about the coronavirus, talking about how we are going to respond. What's going to happen if we don't have any more revenue, if one of us gets laid off, if one of us gets sick and we can't work anymore. So we put together a contingency plan, which if you haven't done it already, please do. I beg you, I beg you, I beg you, you have to look through this. As someone who's going through this leadership series, leaders can predict the future. They see the future, they plan the future, but the key word is future. right? So yes, we're stuck in this right now. And if you only focus on the coronavirus, guess what? You're going to feel stuck. We have to look at 3 months from now, at 6 months from now, a year from now. We can't make a 100% prediction. Nobody can. The economists are all saying different things. You've heard we're going back to work at Easter. Well, that didn't happen. You heard maybe May 15th, maybe May 30th, maybe July. Look, the Olympics canceled. Los Angeles is canceling annual December events. People are predicting depressions. So we're hearing every word that you could possibly hear right now. What I want you to say is ignore all of that. I need you to focus on you. You have to do some planning for yourself, right? Just like my wife and my family did. We said, look, if we have no more events, what's going to happen? See, because money is not measured in dollars, it's measured in time. So as you look at your personal finances, you have to figure out how long can I get by with the money that I have or the money that I'm earning. And that's what my wife and I did. We said, look, if I don't make any more revenue because all of my events are canceled, well, look, they're not. So I feel blessed. And my wife's a neonatal intensive care unit nurse, so she has to go to work. But what happens, right? What happens now? Our lifestyle is upside down, right? Because now we've got our 2 kids homeschooled or virtually schooled, whatever you want to call it. So as a leader, we need to plan ahead. We need to think ahead. We need to look ahead, right? Becoming wealthy is a mindset. It's about creating a wealthy life, and it starts here. You've got to have the mindset that you're not going to beg, you're not going to borrow, you're going to build. You're going to build an experience. You're going to build capability. You're going to build a way to become better, to do more, to be more. But that starts all in your head here, right? So that's what I want you to do. So if you are with us and your audio is on, go ahead, turn it on and say, becoming wealthy is a what? It's a mindset. Everyone tap your head, say mindset.
Mindset.
Right? Becoming wealthy is a
Mindset.
It's about creating a wealthy life. You got to create a wealthy life. And here's why it's a mindset. If you take all the world's money and you spread it evenly amongst the rich, the middle class, and the poor, so everyone gets the same amount, and just say there's, I don't know, everyone gets $1 billion. I don't know how much money's in the world, but just pretend everyone gets $1 billion. You know what happens in 5 years? The rich become rich again. The middle class go right back down to being middle class, and the poor become poor because it's what's going on in here. Poor people have a poor mindset. They tend to spend all the money that they have. The middle class tend to spend what they have, but then they also have credit cards, right? And so they go into debt with it. And the rich are smart. They invest their money and they use their money to create more money. So being wealthy is about having a wealthy mindset. That's where we have to start. The rich get richer in tough times. The middle class stay middle class in tough times, and the poor get poorer. But you got to decide, regardless of what class you're in, what mindset do you want to have? That's the first decision we got to make. It's all in your head. You got to have a mindset of a rich person. Here's why. 81% of all college students indicate that their #1 lifetime objective is being well off financially. Very well off financially. That's the #1 goal of a college student coming into college. And that's looking like our biggest challenge right now. All right, this is a recent stat from the Survey of Household Economic and Decision Making, so SHED for short, so dumb. But they found this research that if you look at the ability to handle current month's bills, on the left side of that chart, you'll see the current situation. Do you expect to be able to pay all your current month's bills? So this is not coronavirus right now, right? This is just before this happened, 76% said yes, and 23% said, no, I won't be able to pay all my bills in full. The bigger question is, on the right side, how would a $400 emergency expense that you had to pay impact your ability to pay other bills? 35% said, with a $400 emergency expense, I can't pay my bills in full. That's $400. 35% of Americans are unable to pay in cash for a $400 unexpected emergency. That is a scary number, because right now you have more than a $400 emergency. Way more than a $400 emergency. So let this be your wake-up call. If you're like, I don't really focus on my finances, I don't like spreadsheets, I don't like charts, I don't check my numbers every week or every day, let this be your wake-up call. Download the apps, get your stuff, turn on your alerts, check it, know your numbers. And I'm going to tell you which numbers you need to know as we go throughout this experience. But look, let's face it, this session's called Being Broke Sucks. So if you look up the hashtag Being Broke Sucks, you're going to see people are in the same situation that you are. The fact that I've been wanting to fully dye my hair for more than like half a year is now so annoying. Like, not enough money to dye your hair? That's broke, right? It's not a poor mindset. It's broke, like actually having no money. When you want to buy so many things, but remember, you go to college and don't work. That's broke. Kind of proud I only spent $15 all weekend. Also kind of depressing I had to, right? This is broke. This is not good stuff. So many wonderful plans to travel in the future. So little money to actually do any of those plans. And being broke sucks. Guess it's good for my diet. So we have to change our mindset. We have to do more. So what I want you to do right now is think, why is this so important to you? You got to get in the right mindset before we continue on. Why you? Why now? I want to give you a minute and just think, just pick up that pen or pencil, and I want you to write. I'll put on some music, just think and ink. Why you? Why now? Why is this so important to focus on your financial well-being? Just decide why. And don't just put like a one-word answer. Don't just put one sentence. Oh, because I need to. Oh, because I want credit for this class. No, really. Why is this important? Take a moment and do that now. You'd have at least some idea of why this is so important, because look, Martin Luther King Jr., he had a dream, right? He said, I have a dream. He didn't say, I have a plan. You don't need your plan as long as you have that dream, as long as you understand what it is that you want. And I see a couple things in the chat real quick. So let me pull up what Chad was sharing. And if anyone else has a quick thought, please by all means share. But Chad is saying, because there's no income coming in for non-essential workers who were sent home due to the virus, other than the government check is their income. So every cent counts. Absolutely. We have to be smarter now more than ever. I am a middle-class citizen, and my wife and myself, we put ourselves on a spending freeze. That means nothing that we don't have to buy, we are not buying. We are not fixing stuff in our house. There's a hole. Look, you can see it. There's a hole. No, you can't see it. I got to move the fan. See that hole in my ceiling? That hole right there? I can't fix that hole because we are on a spending freeze, right? That's because there's a giant leak in the bathroom above. So we have to really be smart about this, right? So what does that mean to us as we continue forward? Being wealthy is a what? Tap your head, say mindset. Mindset, right? So here's recommended actions. You want to improve your mindset. There are 3 books. You got to invest in your own, education, right? You got to invest in your financial education now more than ever. 3 books. The one in the middle is the biggest one, Think and Grow Rich. That will put you in the right mindset. Another book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. That is the #1 personal finance book of all time, every single year in a row for like 10 years running. That's an impressive stat. And if you want really practical advice, the Finish Rich Workbook, right? So these are 3 books. Maybe you can borrow them. Maybe you can choose with friends. Hey, I'm going to buy one, you buy another, and you buy another. And as you go through them, look, now is the best time to learn. You're not commuting. You're not forced to go anywhere. You can't go anywhere. So why not put some more good stuff in your mind? So here's 3 recommendations. 3 books, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, Think and Grow Rich, and then the Finish Rich Workbook. Why do I like the workbook? Because it gives you 12 principles, and if you do them, I promise you're going to be in a better spot. One of those is get 12 folders and put them in a filing cabinet in a drawer. So I've got that in my drawer here, and it's got all of my financial paperwork, every single thing. So it's about tracking your stuff. So it's all a mindset. It all starts here. Before you even know anything else, being wealthy is a mindset. All right, so let's open it up for some of those questions and thoughts that were in the chat box, right? So let's see. So Amber is saying, so my daughter is better off than I was. Yes, thank you. My mother could never help me financially. I had to buy my own car, my own home, my own everything. Growing up was always cheap brands and generics, so I want to be able to help my daughter buy her first car. Oh, that's so awesome. And pay for college and so on. Amber, if you are in a place where you can show us your video and unmute yourself, please do that.
Hi.
There you are, Amber. We can hear you, we can't see you.
No, I have a thing over my camera.
No, well, how would you feel if I had a thing over my camera?
Hey, you're presentable. I'm a mess.
That's all right. So talk to us. How old's your daughter?
She's 11.
She's 11. And so it's
Yeah.
really important for you because you want to create a better world, a better life, a better experience for her, right?
Yeah.
Why?
Because I always had a struggle for everything, like buying my first house. My ex-husband, he kind of ruined my credit. So I had to build my credit up from 548 up to 620 just to get an FHA loan, and I had no help paying off any of my credit card debt, anything. So like my first car, it was really, I had to actually get a personal loan for my first car because it was too old to get a car loan, but I couldn't afford to pay a car loan for a new car.
Gotcha.
So like, because I didn't have established credit. So I always had to like finagle my way around to be able to provide for myself and support myself because my mom just couldn't.
Appreciate that. And thank you for sharing. I know a lot of people are either in that situation or possibly going to be in that situation. I know there's some parents on this this digital event right now. I know there's some people who want to be parents. I know there's also people who definitely do not 100% ever want to be parents, and they're like, no kids for me ever. But we want to do that for our kids. So a recommendation for you, I have a son who's 10 and a daughter who's 8, so I get this. I know where they're at. You got to start teaching your daughter financial education now. At the age of 11, this is when it starts. At least start teaching. My kids are playing Roblox on the internet, social gaming. That's a great place to start learning too, because they have to pay bills in the houses that they build. The bigger the house, the more stuff, the more bills. So they do start learning that. So that is one of the things that we could do is start teaching at a young age, having a wealthy mindset. So I love that you're sharing that. Dorian is saying, because most of the job is not permanent, most of us have to take a risk to lose jobs. Yeah, absolutely. Dorian, do you have the ability to talk with us or show your video as well?
Yeah, because we moved from China to here since 2011. Because the job is not permanent, so we relocated more than 3 states. We moved to Seattle, Kentucky, and now it's here.
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we've got to really get in the right mindset because we can't predict the future. We can create the future, we can declare the future, but there's still going to be stuff that gets in our way. There's a great quote by former President Dwight Eisenhower. He says, "The plan is nothing, planning is everything." Right? The plan's going to change. I don't know if any of you are comic book people or TV show comic book people. There's a TV show out there, The Flash, and one of the best villains from The Flash was Captain Cold. He was played by, I forget his name. But he said a great quote in there is going to stick with me forever. Make the plan, execute the plan, expect the plan to go off the rails, and throw away the plan. Right? Because again, the plan is nothing, but planning is everything. So we really have to be prepared for whatever life throws at us. So thank you, Goyen, for sharing. I appreciate that. The D'Souza's, it looks like we've got multiple people from that family on here, but it's probably just one person on a family account is saying it's the best time to save. Yes, 100% without a doubt. Save, save, save. But what is savings? Delayed spending, right? We're gonna use it at some point. You just have to know what it is that you're saving it for. So that's going to transition us into the next piece. But the last comment I want to go into is Maddie is saying, because I'm graduating in a year and going into the real world, let's stop there. This is the real world. You're dealing with it every single day. I know people in college say, oh, when I get into the real world, no, you're budgeting, you're financing, you're going to class, you're learning, you're raising families. This is all real, right? But I know what you mean, the real world. For the first time, I've been lucky enough to have some help from my family, and I want to be able to be financially dependent. I know you meant independent. Absolutely. So let's jump in with that vision. So you got to know what the purpose of your money is, and it's using money as a tool for a brighter future, right? So right now, the future is only what you make of it. Our current reality, it's dark, it's gloomy, it's disconnected, but you've got to create a bright future. See, money is not the most important thing in life. However, the most important things in life require money, right? Just the fact that we are using this Zoom meeting to connect right now, we at Collegiate Empowerment host and pay to have an account. That costs money so that we can connect, because we need this connection more than ever. So money may not be the most important thing. It might be important, but not the most important thing. But we need money for all those important things. So you got to focus on your vision so you don't get distracted by immediate gratification. What do I mean by that? Is all the little things that we tend to buy, maybe by accident, maybe on purpose, but because we spent money on those little things, we don't have money for the big things. And again, now more than ever, we have to save that money for the big thing. And that big thing is getting through this crisis, getting through the pandemic. The purpose of money is to fund your vision. So you have to know, what is your vision? It's not about your income, it's about your outcome. What do you want to do with your money? And right now, it's get through it. We've been living in this house for 13 years. We just started putting some money into it a couple of years ago because we had debt from my wife's school and grad school. And this year we said, we're going to put a pool in the backyard. Guess what we're not doing right now? Not putting a pool in the backyard, because something bigger than the pool is making sure that we make it through this crisis. So you have to think about the bigger vision, the bigger purpose, the bigger intention. What is the purpose of money for you? And then purpose of spending is to acquire new revenue. Like, how can you spend money to make money? Decrease an expense, so you spend money to get rid of expenses, right? Or you spend money to decrease liabilities. And if you're like, I don't know what a liability is, don't worry, you're in the right session. But the purpose of spending is to make more money or get rid of expenses and liabilities. That's why we do this. That's especially right now more than ever. That's why we're spending. So if you're not buying gold, which is going to continue to go up, some people say it's going to go down, but every stock, it fluctuates, but ultimately it goes up. So if you buy gold now, in 20 years, it's going to be worth almost twice as much as you have it. If you have that kind of money laying around, which I know I don't, but I would love to buy a $13,000 gold bar just to have it, that's acquiring new revenue, right? You're investing. So here's a recommended action. Connect your financial goals to your personal vision. You have to have that conversation with your significant other, like I did with my wife, or just sit down with yourself and say, what is my bigger vision? What do I really want? And now, how are my financial goals going to help me get there, knowing the crisis I'm in? Secondly, maybe consider a side hustle. More than a degree right now, you need an LLC, right? So if you're not graduating just yet, you might think, hey, how can I make some money while I'm here, while I'm at work? What else can I do? How else can I bring value to the world? I know there are a lot of people right now making masks, right? And that's a way that they're creating revenue for themselves, but also creating value for all the workers in the hospitals, right? So what is something that you do, something that you offer, some sort of value that you create that you can then make some money? It doesn't have to be a lot of money, but something to help get you by. So consider a side hustle. All right, now we got to learn the language. When it comes to money, most people are totally illiterate. So what's the language of money? It's real simple. There's 4 words. The first word is income. If you're on audio, everyone say income.
Income.
Expense.
Expense.
Asset.
And liability.
Liability.
These are the 4 words of your financial intelligence. So income is money that comes where? In. Really simple. We made this as simple as possible. Money that comes in, right? Expense is money that goes where?
Out.
Out.
All right, so income comes in, expense goes out. That's the easy part. An asset is something that puts money in your pocket. It puts it where?
In your
Pocket.
In your pocket. Now, this is whether you're working or not. Whether you're working or not. That means if you own a business and that business gets to generate revenue while you're sleeping, or you have an Amazon account where you're a seller and people are buying things whether you're working or not because you already put it together, right? Or maybe I'll give you a couple examples here. If you've got stocks Yes, stocks are up and they're down and they're up and they're down, but like I said before, they tend to go up over time. If you own real estate goes up over time. It puts more money in your pocket, whether you focus on it or not. If you develop it, even more so. If you've got those gold bars hanging around, if you've got bonds, your financial education is an asset. If you own a business, that's an asset. It puts money in your pocket, whether you're working or not. So I want you to think right now, take 30 seconds or so. What are some assets that you have? Yes, your bank account is an asset, but at 0.00001%, you're making almost no money on that asset. So it's not a very good asset, but yes, it is an asset. A high yield savings account is a little bit better. You can make 1.7% at HSBC and some other banks like that, which is a little bit more money than a typical bank. But take 30 seconds. What are some assets that you have right now? Write some of those down. Make sure you're tracking them. Do that now.
Some of the assets that I have were actually through investing. I initially invested like $200, but I lost a decent amount of it because of learning experience. But I read this book, Broke Millennials' Take on Investing, and it helped me understand it a little bit more.
Yeah, love that. And that's just get started. You start with a little bit. Start with a little bit. I have a student credit card that gives me money back on groceries and gas. Maddie, I love it. That is not an asset though, because you're in a credit card. You gotta spend money to make it.
Are you okay?
That's putting money in your pocket, whether you work or not. No, it's putting money in your pocket only when you spend money. So we gotta be careful, right? That's why we have to learn the language of money.
Okay, all right.
I only have some old coins I've collected. Hey, you know what? If you sell those in the future, that's possible. I have a lot of stamps that are very rare coins and notes. Yeah, those are assets. Hang on to them. Over time, you're able to sell them. My wife wants us to keep our common toy train sets because in the future, they're going to be worth a lot, right? So think about the things that put money in your pocket, whether you're working or not. Amber's saying I have a few stocks through Robinhood. I also have a savings account through Credit Karma. I have a 401k. I have old comics and stamps. Perfect. Perfect. And then we've got no asset. All right. So we've got to figure out, is now the time to invest in assets, or let's get through the pandemic and then let's have some assets, right? So we got to know what puts money in our pocket, whether we're working or not. Your house, by the way, is not on this list. Your house, your real estate, that's not an asset because you have to put money into it. Your car, not an asset. Your bank will tell you it's an asset because it puts money where? In their pocket. Right.
Yeah, that's right.
You knew it before I said it. It's not ours, right? There's a question, what is a 401k? If you, what 401k is? Just clarify that question. Are you asking what's a 401k or is a 401k an asset? Yes, a 401k is an asset. You do have to work to get it, but you don't have to work on the 401k. It tends to be automatic, so as long as you're working, your company will continue to put money into that, as well as you will put money in from your paychecks. So it is an asset. It's not the best because if you get sick and you stop working for 6 months, no one's putting money in that account for you. So it's an okay asset, but not the best. But at least it's something. It's a good start. Social Security, do we know where that's going 30 years from now or 40 or 50 years from now when you retire? No, don't bank on that. Don't bank on that. So what's a liability? If an asset puts money in your pocket, what's a liability do?
Takes it out.
Takes it out. It takes money out, right? So what are some examples of liabilities? Your car, even if you paid for it in cash, because you still have all the payments, you still got to pay for gas, you got to pay for maintenance on it. That's a liability. Whether you're using it or not, you got to pay for it, right? If you have a house, you got to keep putting money into that house. You got to pay property taxes. You got to keep paying for stuff, even again, if you paid for it in cash. Your credit card is a liability. And what is a liability? The easiest way to look at a liability is something that costs a lot of money. So you put it on a, credit, or you put it on a credit card, and then you pay it off slowly over time. That's really what a liability is. just like a credit card. You spend $1,000 on a credit card, you spend $50 a month to pay it off. So the $50 a month is an expense, the $1,000 is the liability. Your taxes that you owe at the end of the year, that's a liability. So make a list right now. I'll give you 30 seconds. Write down some of the things for yourself. What are the liabilities that you have? Where do you owe more money than you're able to just easily pay off? Where is this invisible money going? Take a moment to do that now. Yes, Maddie. Yes. All right, as you wrap up that thought, the financial IQ we've got to get smart with is income is money that comes where?
In.
In. Expense is money that goes where?
Out.
Out. Assets put money where?
In your
In your pocket, whether you're what?
Working or not.
Whether you're working or not. And liability takes money where?
out.
Out.
In your pocket, whether you're working or not. Chad is saying life. Life is not a liability. It's life actually, so it all comes back to mindset, right? It comes back to how do we think, how do we believe, how do we feel about it, and then of course, how do we act about it? Because a lot of people, yeah, they can turn their lives into a liability for either themselves or other people by not taking care of their physical health, their mental health, their well-being, things of that nature. So yeah, that's a really good example that some people do tend to make their own lives or others a liability. But if you've got the right mental health, the right physical health, the right spiritual health, you put the right stuff in here, your life can become an asset for you because it will help put money into your pocket because being wealthy is a mindset, right? So the recommended action here is increase your income and your expenses. Of course, how can you find new and creative ways to do it, right? Don't beg, don't borrow, build. And then decrease your expenses and liabilities. I know a lot of companies right now are giving you the ability to push off paying back some loans so that you can save money and eat, right? That's what's happening right now. So that's where we are. And Jean is coming back into the meeting. She has been booted out. Welcome back, Jean. All right. So recommended action, you can download an app like Mint. From mint.com, you can use it online, you can use it here. This is the one we recommend, but there's so many other apps that you know of that you can just take a look at. What are some good financial apps that I can use to track my money, whether it's on your phone or whether it's online somewhere. You've got to track your expenses, you've got to track your liabilities, but of course you want to track your income and your assets as well. So make sure that you do that. Next is about knowing your numbers. So if you're going to track all this stuff, you need to know what the numbers mean. You can't manage what you don't know. Amber is saying she uses something called Money Pro, right? There's tons of them out there, literally tons, 1,200 pounds, 12,000 pounds of these. No, 1,200, right? 1,200 pounds is a ton. Yeah, see, I know my numbers. All right, so take a look at this. We're going to compare in 2016, a grande, which was $3.65, to Dunkin' Donuts, their medium, which is about the same size cup, $1.89. Now, because of inflation, when things, the cost of things just becomes more over time, the costs inflate. That was 2016. Take a look at the prices now. From $3.65 to $3.95, and from $1.89 to $2.49. So let's just say we're going to average these two out. I don't care if you go to Starbucks. I don't care if you go to Dunkin' Donuts. Let's average it out. The average cost of that medium average size coffee, $3.22, right? So let's say that you get coffee 3 times a week. Maybe not now because we're not going out. And you're making your own coffee and you're saving money. But it's $3.22. Times 3 is $502 a year. I want you to know your numbers. Let's say you buy coffee on campus more than 3 times a week, it's 5 times a week. That is $837 a year on brown sugar water with maybe some caffeine in it. You got to think about where your money is going. You got to think about how much things actually cost you, right? So here's what means what. Well, let's talk about a couple different things. Let's focus on the green first, so stay with me. Your income, you've got your gross income and your net income. This is relatively simple. Your gross income is how much they tell you they're going to pay you. Your net income is how much you actually get in your paycheck after all the taxes, Social Security, disability, all those things come out. So you want to know what your gross income is because you need to know it, but you really want to know what your net income is because that's how much you actually get. There's a big difference. Now, your expenses, there's fixed and variable. Your fixed expenses are the ones that are the same every single month. You tend to have those, if again, $1,000 for a liability, you buy, I don't know, you buy a computer, right? You buy a phone for $1,000 and you pay $50 a month. That's a fixed expense because it's $50, it doesn't ever change. Your variable expenses changes, right? That means depending on what food you eat or don't eat, it's going to be different. Then let's talk about your annual percentage yield. This is what you get from assets. Your APY and your APR are different. It just depends on who that is going to. For the annual percentage yield, that's how much you get on your interest. And your annual percentage rate is how much the bank gets, or the loan gets, or the credit card gets. K-cups are around 50 to 70 cents, usually per coffee, if anyone is curious. Thanks, Michael. Cheaper, right? Cheaper. All right, let's talk about liability. We did liabilities. Let's talk about economics. So we talked about inflation. So inflation means just the cost of living and the cost of things to buy. It goes up. Over time, it keeps going up and up and up. Things become more money. Why? It just does. That's how economics works. The cost of college education goes up about 7% every year. So for my 10-year-old son in 8 years, think about how much more college is going to be for my kids than it even was for you. And now we got to talk about the word recession. What does that mean? That means that when the economy over the course of 2 quarters or 3 months per quarter, so 6 months, experiences a downturn in the stock market, that's what a recession is. People get laid off. There's not a lot of money going around. Money is not flowing. That's why their term's so important, cash flow. We have to have cash flow. Money has to flow, right? So if consumers are not spending, if you're not spending money, then the companies that make products, they're not able to sell and keep their people employed. So then they have to fire those people, and those people who get fired don't have money, so they can't spend, and then other people, and then we're in a recession. And if that continues over and over and over again, then we're in a depression. And I'm not making any predictions here, just sharing the news. So the insight here is when you budget, and hear me loud and clear on this, you've got to overestimate your income and underestimate your expenses. What does that mean? Overestimate how much you think you're going to get. So if your employer says, hey, you're going to make $30,000 a year, you're not. I'm sorry, did I read that wrong? I got the chat box open. It says under, doesn't it? It does. I'm like, I know what that's wrong. Underestimate your income. So don't assume you're going to get as much as you're really going to get. And Gene, that's when you're supposed to be like, Joe, that's not what it says. And then overestimate your expenses. And I mean, at the bottom of the screen, you see it. The same is true for all resources, time, energy, money, people, and stuff. Overestimate your expenses, overestimate how much money it's going to cost, overestimate how many people you need for a project, overestimate how long that project is going to take, right? Everything takes longer than you think, and you never have as much resources as you think you need. So underestimate your income and overestimate your expenses. Is that making sense? You with me on that?
Yes.
All right, cool. So here's a couple recommended actions, and then we'll open this up for conversation here. So list all of your income. As we started doing today, keep that going. From jobs, from allowances, from anything. It could be a government allowance, doesn't matter. List wherever you get all your money for, your gross income and your net income. Then you want to save 10% at least right now of that income, if not 20%. Maybe you can save 30% because you're not spending. So that means if you have a $1,000 paycheck, save $100 of it. If you have a $3,000 paycheck, save $300 of it. You want to be able to use this, just drop the remote. You want to be able to use this time right now to save, save, save. Now, what are you saving for? To pay for your expenses. So list your weekly and your monthly expenses. Where does your money go on a regular basis? And then if you did this last year, if you're using apps, compare your spending to last year and see, how am I doing this year to last year? Did we spend more money or less money? Why? Did we go on vacations? Did we not go on vacations? Did I have to start paying for loans? What changed between this year and last year? You got to know your numbers. Then, of course, you got to list all your assets, everything that helps you earn money, savings, stocks, bonds, mutual funds, CDs, etc. And then call and research better rates. Call and ask for better rates. If you own a house right now, call and ask for a better mortgage. Maybe 3 weeks will be the better time. I don't know. We're not making those predictions. But call and ask. Nothing there. It does not hurt. It does not hurt you. It does not hurt your credit score if you call and say, can I get a better rate? I've been with you. I've been a customer of yours since 2008 or since 2012. Again, know your numbers and ask. Ask for a better rate. And of course, list all the liabilities that you owe. And you got a whole list of things here. Call to negotiate those rates too. Right? So if you have a cell phone bill, call. Negotiate that rate. Say, hey, I've been paying. These are hard times right now. What can we do to support? You know, I'd really like not to change over from AT&T to Sprint. So how can you help me remain a customer of yours? Do the same thing with your electricity bill. Do the same thing with your cable bill if you're running cable through the house. And then if you have lots of liabilities, pay off the high interest first. That's the one that costs you the most money. All right, so I know we are dumping a lot in. Take a moment, think. If you've got questions, let's answer some of those questions now, and then we'll continue with the last 12 minutes or so. All right, so what questions do you have? So Michael has thrown something out. Delaney's thrown something out. I always save money on coffee because I don't drink it. I love it. Neither do I. Where do I get all this energy from? I don't know. I make it up. Michael's saying credit unions typically don't change maintenance fees that bigger banks charge. Bigger banks, that's what you're saying. Credit unions don't typically charge the same maintenance fees that bigger banks do. So yes, you might want to consider going to a different type of bank. Perfect, great. Other thoughts, other questions at this point where we're at right now? What's going on in your heads?
And when I work on my own budget, I liked what you said about underestimating your income and overestimating your expenses. It helps you feel good at the end of the budget too when you finish with it and you see that you saved extra than what you expected. So.
Absolutely. Yeah, you could be really smart with it and then breathe a sigh of relief. Absolutely. Great validation on that. Other thoughts, other questions as we continue on? Going once.
So I'm someone who has like a variable income where like I choose my hours for the week. So I work for a telecommunications company. So I work between 10 and 20 hours. So for me, that transition was hard because I used to work at a retail store when I got 30 hours a week and it was a very set schedule. So for me, since working on, like I just started working here 8 months ago. So it was interesting to like try to balance my expenses when I'm making between now like a much bigger range of money versus when I was just making the same every month.
Sure. Yeah, and that's why we've got to underestimate our income. Underestimate the amount of time that you have, the ability that you have to work, especially now, right? Yeah. Thanks, Manny. Thanks for sharing. I got a question. Do you think colleges will slash tuition if everything goes to virtual learning moving forward? That would be great savings right there, and I would love to say yes. However, I'm not in charge of that decision. I'm not in those committee meetings. What we're hoping to see right now is that there's 3 different types of offerings that colleges put out. This is what we're doing as a company, as a nonprofit. That's a collegiate empowerment, we're a nonprofit. We have our signature events. That's our live events when we come to campus, and many of you have met us before, so you've been there, you've been a part of it. That's the signature offering. The signature offering at college is going to the college, going to the classroom, sitting down with your professors and your advisors, getting connected with all the higher education professionals and the student affairs pros. That is the signature experience. You're experiencing right now the level 2, the digital experience. It should be cheaper. It should be, right? Because you don't have to pay to live on campus. You don't have to pay to commute to campus. They don't have to pay to maintain the facilities. We're not in charge of that decision. The third level is just offering freebies and webinars and opportunities for students to stay connected. And that's something that we are also doing right now. Actually, it's happening is our One Reason Why Not mental health and well-being program is being facilitated right now on a different Zoom channel, right? So we're offering those 3 levels as well. So yes, that would be awesome if that happened. Brady is saying, do you have a recommendation for how much money you should have saved before investing in stocks? That is a personal decision. I can't give you a recommendation on that, not knowing your scenario. I'm not a financial advisor. I'm a financial educator. So I would love to have an answer for you, but that's all based on your comfort level. But not knowing the future, not having the prediction for where things are going to go over the next, I don't know, 2 months, 6 months, year, it's really hard to say. So right now, the time is to save. Invest when you feel more comfortable, when the markets get a little back to normal. All right, let's continue on as we get ready to wrap up. Let's talk about debt, because I know a lot of us are in debt. A lot of us have issues with credit card debt and whatnot. So we got to take care of our cash flow. We got to take control of our cash flow. And what is debt? I want you to hear this. I want you to see this. Debt is a hole that digs itself. D-E-B-T. It is a shovel. Debt is a hole that digs itself. If you get into debt and you don't pay it off, it gets bigger and bigger and bigger. I'll give you a couple examples. Let's say you buy the iPhone 11 for $700. You put that on a credit card, your rate is 15, you got a pretty good rate at 15.1% AP, not Y. Yield is what you get. The R is what they get, the annual percentage rate. So you only have to pay it off for 2 years. That's not bad. You only have to pay $37.92 per month. But at the end of that 2 years, that phone costs you $910 instead of $700. Think about that. That's how debt digs a hole. Debt costs more. It turns an expense into a liability. And a liability is something that we have to pay over time. Just like if you got to get a new car. So that was my car back in 2009. And we would think, oh, it'll never happen to me. Well, it didn't happen to me. It happened to my wife. Some big truck rammed her into the side. We had damage with the car. Right? So now we're sitting with this car and the car insurance company says, that's a total loss. I mean, what do you mean it's a total loss? Look at the pictures. Just got to fix the front and we're fine. And they said, no, it's a total loss. You got to get a new car. We'll give you some money for it because you have insurance. So we go in, I'm signing the new loan for the new car with my daughter. My son has my phone, taking selfies, a lot of selfies. Over and over and over again, and I finally get the same car that I had, just a 2-year later model, so a newer model. So I bought a brand new car. Here's what my paperwork looked like. The annual percentage rate on that loan was 3.99, so it's 4%, right? Who's kidding who? The finance charge, meaning how much is it going to cost me to finance the vehicle? If I pay the annual percentage rate, that's $1,500 more. So I thought the car was going to be a certain amount. No, it's going to be $1,500 more. So you see that right there. There's the number. So the amount financed is I financed $12,000 because I put some money into it, and financing by borrowing $12,000, it cost me $1,500 to borrow it. That's a lot of money. Debt is a hole that digs itself. When my wife and I consolidated her grad school loans, it was an $18,000 loan at a 5% interest rate. That cost us $2,400. So instead of having an $1,800 loan, now we have a $2,500 loan. Debt is a hole that digs itself. You want to buy a house. Of course you want to buy a house, and then you make it look pretty. No, you just take a picture on a nicer day and you do your lawn. This was my house. So there it is right there. My house cost $287,000. Now, then there are things we didn't even know about. There's closing costs. What are those? That's all the paperwork, the administration, all that stuff. So you thought you're buying a $287,000 house. No, you're not. You're buying a house that costs more, $8,316 more. We put $15,000 down. We had a $273,000 loan over 30 years we refinanced since then, but that was a pretty good rate at the time, 6.125%. That's $2,500 a month, including private mortgage insurance, because we didn't put enough down. Debt is a hole that digs itself. How much does my less than $300,000 house cost? $900,000 over 30 years. When you buy a house, it costs you 3 times as much. I want you to know that. Everything costs more than you think when you finance it, just like a wedding. Everything costs more than you think. Overestimate your expenses. There are way more things than you think, so you have to know what's going on with your debt. It is a hole that digs itself. You got to take control of your digging, figure out what's going on with your shovel, what's happening with your debt, and then what's the trade-off? What must you sacrifice right now to pay off that debt so that it doesn't keep digging a hole? What must you sacrifice? Maybe it's, I'm not going to put a pool in my backyard. You know, for me, I'm not going to put a pool in my backyard because we got to pay off the college loans because they keep costing us more money. Whatever it is for you, you've got to figure that out. If you've got debt, find a way to pay it off, or to ask for some grace right now so you don't have to pay it off, so you could pay for your expenses like eating, like electricity, like the internet, things like that. So with debt, we have to know it's not the price, it's the terms. The price of the car was $18,000, but the terms made it $20,000. The price of the house was $300,000, the terms made it $900,000. So recommended action for you. This is real simple and it's free. Go to annualcreditreport.com. You can do this once every single year. Get your credit report. This will tell you how well you're doing with how much money you make, how much money you keep, how much money you have on credit, how many loans you have out there, your debt to your income to debt ratio. Get your annualcreditreport.com for free. You are allowed to do it one time. Annualcreditreport.com. You need to know your credit. You need to know how well you're doing with it. That is me begging you. As we wrap up this session here, being broke sucks. I know there's a lot in here. I know there's a lot to talk about. 1 hour. I joked about this being a 4-hour session. It needs to be. It really does. But at least right now you have some sort of foundation. But please just remember, it starts where? In your mind. Being wealthy is a mindset. We got a question from Michael. Is using credit cards considered financing since it adds to the cost over time? Yes, that's financing. Absolutely. Absolutely. So this has been recorded. I know there's a lot of material in here. We're going to make sure that we get this to you over the next couple of days, just like the last session and next week's session as well. So if you have any other thoughts or questions, Jean will stay connected with us. We will also be here next week to serve and support, but we promised an hour and that is the end of the hour. So Jean, I will throw this back your way.
Thank you, Joe. Thank you so much for all that great information. Just really quickly, so I just got my college credit card last week. So I know I owe Amber and Christian gift cards from our last session. And today's random drawing winners were Diego and Delaney. So I will be getting your gift cards as well. So thank you for participating. I hope that the information is helpful. I know I've learned a lot today. I made a lot of notes. I'm going to have a good conversation with my husband tonight. But thank you very much for being here. And we look forward to seeing you next Wednesday. So everyone stay well, stay healthy, and take good care of yourselves and those that you love. So
thank you.
bye for now.
Bye,
Thank
thank
you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Take care.
Thank you so much.